Amazon has a absolute massive balance sheet. If we look at the numbers, Amazon in 2020, their fiscal year ended and the cash was $42 billion. That $42 billion, if you combine it with the short-term investments and total assets, the cash and short-term investments on Amazon's balance sheet is $84 billion. If I was talking to Jeff Bezos right now, I would say, Jeff, let's sit down. Listen real quick. You have $84 billion of cash and short-term investments on your balance sheet. There is over 5% CPI inflation. Core inflation is 4%. It is likely that inflation is only going to get worse. You are sitting on a melting ice cube. You are literally losing billions of dollars of purchasing power on a daily basis when you add it all up for the year. So if you're going to lose this year billions of dollars of purchasing power, you have to do something. And the best thing you can do is to take a depreciating asset in purchasing power terms of cash and cash equivalents and to convert some portion of that into a digital global store of value. If Amazon was to take that $84 billion on their balance sheet and convert just 2% of it into Bitcoin and leave it there, and you looked over the last 12 months, that 2% allocation of Amazon's balance sheet would have been a protector for the entire portfolio. What do I mean? That 2% has gone up about 400%. So we would have had an 8% allocation to Bitcoin by the end of that 12-month period. That 8% allocation to Bitcoin would have already been a positive return on top of the inflation. So even though it went up 8% in nominal terms and you took away 5.5%, we would still have the entire balance sheet protected, even though Bezos would have only allocated the 2% to Bitcoin. It is now time where Jeff Bezos, Andy Jassy, and the rest of the Amazon team, they must put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. There is no argument to sit with $84 billion of cash and cash equivalents on your balance sheet when there is 5+% inflation. And those are the official numbers. It is likely that inflation is actually closer, between 8 to 12% based on a number of estimations. And so if you are going to sit there and lose intentionally and knowingly billions of dollars of purchasing power, that is unacceptable to shareholders. Shareholders should absolutely start to ask the question, why does Amazon have tens of billions of dollars on the balance sheet, but they have no protection? There is no inflation hedges sitting on Amazon's balance sheet. And so as we go into the holiday season, as we are going to see increases in demand, increases in spending, more supply chain bottlenecks, it is likely that we may actually see inflation get worse before it gets better. If that occurs, Amazon will become more and more and more exposed to the negative side effects of the high levels of inflation. We know that the government increased their 2% prediction of inflation in Q4 of 2021, back in the summer. They increased it to 4.8%. So the government more than doubled their expectations of inflation already this year. So it is likely that we are going to see continued persistent high levels of inflation. We've been over 5% now for 4 months in CPI terms. Jeff Bezos and the rest of the Amazon team must put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But they can't just do it because they think that it's cool. They shouldn't just do it because they think that people will talk about it on the internet. This is now an economic argument. This is part of their fiduciary duty of protecting shareholder value. If you put $84 billion at risk and watch it melt away with historic devaluation of the currency, you're failing your shareholders. Put Bitcoin on Amazon's balance sheet. That is the only way you are going to protect yourself. The other inflation hedge assets will not protect you. Gold is down 5% over the last 12 months in nominal terms. If you add in inflation, gold is down 10+% on a real return basis. You can't buy illiquid assets like venture capital or real estate. You also can't go and speculate in the stock market. The only thing that you can do to continue to protect your shareholder value and also have the liquidity needed is to follow MicroStrategy, Tesla, and Square. Put Bitcoin on the balance sheet and allow Bitcoin to protect your entire balance sheet with only a 2% allocation. Jeff Bezos, it's time. Put Bitcoin on the balance sheet.